I'm sorry, but no. A simple phrase, but so hard to say. Do you have a hard time saying no? Well, you are not alone. The truth is, saying no is hard. Many people have problems with it. We were raised with the idea that we have to be nice, say yes when someone asks something, and adapt to others. But the fact is that you can never be productive if you take on too many commitments. You simply spread yourself too thin and will not be able to get anything done, at least not well or on time. Holding into hero mentality like I can do it all for too long can even impact your mental health and quality of life. At work and at home, the inability to say no can result in lack of sleep, emotional distress, and eventually burnout. The good news is you can learn to say no without guilt, without lying, being rude, or hurting anyone's feelings. That's what I'm talking about today. What is so hard about saying no? Why do you put a smile on your face again and squeeze out "yes, fine" when the neighbor asks if you are coming on her birthday, or a colleague comes to your desk for a conversation when you are so busy? While you feel that you actually have no time, energy, or desire. You know, a person can only handle so much. Try to remember one thing. No is an entire sentence. It doesn't need even one extra letter to complete it. So learn the habit of saying a simple no and falling silent. In the short term, saying no to requests is more stressful than saying yes. Every time we say no to someone, be it at party invitation, a work, or a friend request, there's a risk of an unpleasant response from the other person. Most people, therefore, opt for the short-term benefits of saying yes. But you can say no. In the long run, giving in every time causes you much more stress. You may begin to feel frustrated or depressed. You may also look unreliable to others because you simply cannot please everyone and meet all requirements. Like you say yes while doing something halfway or too late. Avoiding saying no, therefore, leads to complaints, conflicts, and unhappy relationships in the long run. The trick is to say no without feeling guilty. If you meet other people's needs at the expense of your own, you may end up in a downward spiral that ends with you being too tired to care for anyone, including yourself. Saying yes to one thing automatically means that you're saying no to something else. There is only limited time and energy, so it's important to become aware of what you're actually saying no to when you say yes again. If you take on too much work or have too many appointments, you say no to your own health or well-being, no to quality time with your partner or child, no to your hobbies you enjoy, no to enough sleep. You may say no to things that might actually be very important to you. But you can make saying no a good habit. Something you feel entitled to instead of something you are afraid of. People pleasers, perfectionists, and yes people tend to feel like saying no makes them a bad person. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's really quite simple. Say yes to things that make you feel good and say no to things that don't. Of course, there are exceptions from this rule. You can't always say no to a work project that you don't like, and sometimes you'll have to endure events you're not particularly keen on attending. But this is about exercising your right to say no often enough. At least try to become aware of your right to say no and do it more often than you used to. Because if you will stress less doing this, you will become more balanced, more calm, open, and understanding towards others. And now, let's talk more about how you can do it. First of all, be prepared. Before saying no, it's important to know what you want to say yes to. If you are not yet convinced, or if you know from the inside, then you will not look convincing. Because of this ambiguity, another person will continue to try to ask you. It's easier to decline something when you have a clear picture of why you can't or don't want to, and what your priorities are. Try to become aware of your behavior. Ask yourself what you would like to do differently and experiment with that. Being direct is often the best approach, even if it feels difficult. Just say, "No, I can't," or "No, I don't want to." On the other hand, do not go overboard in your assertiveness by saying no everywhere. Consciously choose what you want or do not want. A good practice for learning to say no is to create rules that help you stay calm, fit, and content. For example, don't go out more than 2 times a week because otherwise you will get tired and moody. Write down fixed times in your agenda for things that you find important and need, work, family, and hobbies included, so you can immediately see when you are available or not. And it also makes it easier to say, "Sorry, but I have already planned something else," even if this something else is an evening in the bath with your favorite book. And if you are available, think critically about every request. Ask yourself, do I want this? Or do I do this because I think I should? Does it make me happy? Second tip is, keep it short and sweet. We are afraid that a simple no will come across as rude, and that's why we try to explain ourselves. There are different ways to say no nicely, but most of the time you don't need to give an explanation at all or even apologize. You don't need to apologize for having made prior plans. If you do your best to explain, it can even cause annoyance because it appears defensive. It's more effective to keep it short. So say something like, "I'm sorry, but I can't." Do not wait for a later time. Say no immediately. The more time you take, the more chance another person gets to add to the pressure by dropping hints or explaining how it would benefit you. Sometimes we feel that we have to say yes to our boss, right? And if we start saying no, then we look like we can't handle the work. At least that's the common reasoning. Yes, it may be easier to say no to your friends and family. You may explain to your boss that by taking on too many commitments, you are weakening your productivity and jeopardizing your existing commitments. You can also try to negotiate with your boss, explaining that there is only so much you can take on at one time. For example, say you don't do everything you're asked to do and ask your boss what other tasks you can drop. It's always possible to say no in a respectful way. You can disagree with someone, but still maintain a good relationship. For example, you can say, "You're a good friend, but I find it annoying if you call me every day to ask for advice. Dare to take risks. What's the worst that could happen? Is that someone who doesn't want to see you anymore? Some friends may want to be friends only because you say yes to everything. So if your friend doesn't respect your boundaries you set in a respectful way, ask yourself if you need a friend like that. You can also offer an alternative. if you want to, like another moment, or suggest other conditions that are comfortable for you. But if the other person continues to insist, repeat your no. If the person still does not understand, say what you think of that behavior and end the conversation. And again, don't say you'll think about it when you know on the spot that you don't want to do it. The third tip is stand behind your decision. After saying no, try to focus on the positive effects of your decision and not on guilt or regret. And certainly don't do it anyway because you find it unpleasant for the other person. If the other person reacts insulted, it means your message is getting through. You can say, I understand your disappointment, but the other person's feelings are ultimately not your problem, but theirs. No remains no. Remember that you are not responsible for the other person's feelings. You are not there to meet all the needs of others. The more you practice saying no, the easier it is to see. It's about being aware of your short-term and long-term needs. If you can meet some interests of other person, it's wonderful, as long as you're able to properly guard your own interests. Negotiation is sometimes part of this process, but give yourself the right to decline requests. If you want to know more, check my Instagram page. I will post more tips on this subject shortly. Please share in the comments below your own struggles with saying no. And as always, like, share and subscribe. Thank you for staying with me. See you soon.